Gerald, you need to do me a favor. Will you do me a favor?
If I can.
You must be really quiet now, all right? Really quiet. I need you later. But now, Nick needs to rest.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Two Peas on a Podcast, where we review the latest and sometimes greatest movies every week. And a happy Halloween week to everyone. We are recording this 3 days before Halloween, 4 days before Halloween. It's going to be coming out initially the day before Halloween. So happy Halloween to everyone. Of course, as the horror guy, it's a big deal for me. And we got something special for that episode. And we have something even more special for that special thing that we have on that episode. Executive producer Dan is coming out of the shadows. The curtain is pulled back. He is here to talk to me on camera, on audio, again, to review a film. Last time we got together and did it, Dan, you came from the control board and you popped on camera, was for, I think, Hitman, the Netflix, the Glenn Powell flick. Is that right? Or did we do something else?
Was it? Well, okay, so there was Hitman, Monkey Man.
Yeah.
This movie has no man in the title, so it doesn't really count.
Yeah, I wonder why I
and
chose
then there was was it Civil War? Because I know I watched it, but I don't remember if I reviewed it.
Civil War was in May.
I
think
Hitman was in the summer, so I think we're chilling. I think it's that one.
So you're back, man. You're back on the show. Welcome, guys. Dan is filling in for Nick this week, who decided to take the week off, maybe because he was worried about watching LUZ. I don't know. But that's what we're going to be reviewing tonight. It was chosen by one of our very special patrons, Jason. I'll use his government name, but I won't give you his last name, ladies and gentlemen. Nerdrovert, he's affectionately known as in our patron community. But he chose this movie from 2018, directed by Tilman, who I had never heard of prior to this year. But he also directed a movie called Cuckoo that came out this year, that I saw a couple months ago. And I really, really like that film. I didn't even know that was not his first feature. It turns out LUZ was his first feature back in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I had never seen it, had never heard of it. I watched it based on the Halloween patron suggestion from Jason, as I know you did as well, Dan, filling in for Nick here. So we will talk about LUZ tonight, the German auteur possession love story. I don't know. It's very, very weird. It is a very weird film. But we'll get into it here shortly. Dan, how are you, man? Thanks for being here, brother. Stepping up to the plate, man. How you been?
It's Monday night, so I'm chilling.
Yeah.
Normally, if this was Tuesday, I'd be furious at somebody because I'd be missing One Piece. I need to practice. There's a 2K tournament coming up next weekend. Next weekend?
Okay.
Next weekend. The weekend of the
What's
9th.
2K mean? That means you jog 2,000 miles while playing it or something?
No. That's the prize pool.
Oh,
a $2,000 prize pool.
That's pretty good.
And then there's a modern 3K on the Sunday. So I would like to win both.
Well, I hope you do. I'll be pulling for you, brother. We'll see who won this week when we watch LUZ. We'll see what our thoughts on that movie are. We'll talk about it here shortly. First, Dan, I've got a very, very, very quick segment I want to do where we talk about some entertainment, some movie news, just a couple topics I want to throw at you. It's a segment that we call Spill the Peas.
Oh, no, not the peas. Not the peas.
All right, first one I want to pitch at you here, Dan, see what you think. But first of all, are you a fan of Disney, Walt Disney, the Walt Disney Company, not the gentleman?
The
sure,
Nazi?
Right? I mean, yeah. Sure, why not? Disney will reportedly announce a huge AI initiative that will transform its creative output with a focus on post-production and visual effects. AI will also be integrated into Disney's parks and experiences. Man, what I don't know. Shaky ground here. What do you think about Disney, arguably the largest movie studio, at least in America? What do you think about this?
I fucking hate AI, period. Period.
Really?
Yes, I hate it. I despise it. Mainly for the jobs that it will erase. Just by being my work institute, it was piloting essentially a chat bot, but it was gonna answer questions and such. And I legit, like people were like, test it out. And I'm like, I refuse to test this out. I don't want this to work. I don't want anybody to use this. I don't want it to learn anything. I want it to sit there and be fucking worthless. So that way people keep their jobs. Because that's all I care about. I want people to keep their fucking jobs. And I know that, you know, they talk about post-production work and like VFX and that kind of stuff. And I know that Disney has decided, hey, let's shove CGI into all of our movies and overwork all of our VFX houses. But like, hey, those people still deserve to get paid, even though they're being overworked and likely underpaid. They still deserve to be paid in the first place. So fuck that.
Yeah, it says the initiative is said to involve hundreds, and it's in quotes, of people at the company and will primarily focus on post-production and visual effects. Some individuals also said that they heard it was going to involve the parks and experiences, but it will not be customer-facing. So I don't know if that means, I don't know, because when I heard that initially, I thought maybe that meant like be like kiosk or something like that instead of a cashier when you buy food or whatever. But if it's not going to be customer-facing, maybe not. I'm kind of like, this is a larger thing, right? The discussion of AI, and we've talked about it even on this show before. Any movie podcast has probably brought it up in the last year or so, but I mean, it's a larger thing where it's like, we need AI in certain facets of our life, but I'm with you when it comes to like creative outlets, which of course film is. I mean, and I said when I asked you the question initially that it was shaky ground because it's like, if Disney does this and if Disney gets away with it and the MPAA and everybody involved says, okay, yeah, you can do that, then I mean, everybody's going to do it. I mean, if Disney can do it, I mean, a little independent studio and a guy making a movie in his basement can do it. I mean, there's facets of our life that we need it. It makes our life easier, whether we're grocery shopping or using, Siri on our phone or like whatever, that stuff I support. But when it comes to creative art and the formation of art, it's not art. You know what I mean? It's a shortcut to an end result that takes away from the artist making the art that we usually, soak up and that we love. So it's a shaky thing, man. I don't know what they're going to do with it specifically. The full story hasn't come out yet. They haven't, announced any specific plans or whatever, but kind of like what you said and just your initial reaction is kind of how I feel too, as somebody that loves movies and frankly loves Disney. To just hear like, oh God, AI is going to be involved in the production process of a Disney film. I mean, that's not good in my opinion. I feel like that's a bad precedent.
Well, so the Marvel show Secret Wars had generative AI opening credits, and they tried to play it off as being like, well, it's supposed to be weird and kind of off-putting and out of place. And it's like, okay, sure, but like you've begun the slippery slope for your shit, I finally watched Late Night with the Devil.
Right.
The movie that also had like generative AI backgrounds. Like and that was a big thing where people were like, I don't want to watch this movie because it has the generative AI backgrounds online that are like part of the set. And it's like, all right, so where does the line get drawn? Like clearly Disney seems like it's going to be dipping further and like inching closer to the line that people are willing to be like, whoa. But
right.
where is that line for most people? Because I know like with hardcore movie fans, it was very much like, these opening credits, I don't want to see this. Oh, these backdrops, I don't want to see this. I don't want to support these movies if you're going to start here. But there are still plenty of people who are like, I don't give a shit. Let's see what else you got. And I'm sure there's always gonna be that contingent that's gonna be like, I don't give a shit. Let's see what else you got.
Yeah, it's not that I don't give a shit, but it's just, man, it like I said, it's just when you interject AI into the conversation of the creation of something that's supposed to be organic, it's just really weird to me. I mean, the Late Night with the Devil thing, when that happened, and I actually talked about it on my YouTube channel.
I know. That's why I brought it up.
It was, I mean, it was one of those things where it was like, it was a 2 or 3 second image. We will be right back. And it was like an old school, 70s talk show graphic or whatever.
Yeah.
But my thing is like, pay a graphic designer or an artist $200 to make that image. I mean, their life would change because their image is in Late Night with the Devil. You only paid them $200. I mean, I'm just throwing that number out there, but I'm saying I can't imagine. It's like I mean, you don't have to use AI to do some of these things, and I feel like they're using it for obviously convenience, and I'm assuming, I don't know how to use AI. I'm assuming it must be easier to take that shortcut. And I think that as we go through, and that's why the SAG after strikes were such a big deal, because there was a lot of language in there about the use of AI, which apparently Disney doing this thing has found some kind of loophole in the post-production to be able to do it. But I don't know, man. I just keep AI out of the movies. I mean, I'm okay with AI in general, like, technology in general, but keep it out of the movies, keep it out of music. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want AI writing a book, and you go to Amazon and you buy a book about a topic that you're interested in, and you find out a robot wrote it. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, we're just getting a little away from ourselves. How about this one though? This was a little more lighthearted.
Well, hold on. I want to talk about the most offensive thing regarding the Late Night with the Devil, and that's it's when you referred to David Dastmalchian as an A-lister, and I'm sorry, but David Dastmalchian is not. Yes, you did, and I remember that vividly. I'm like, how the fuck is this guy an A-lister? This guy, I know David Dastmalchian as the guy that Harvey Dent tortures in The Dark Knight. That's it. I'm like, look, it's the guy Harvey Dent tortured.
He's been in a ton of shit.
It's the first thing I said when I saw him on screen. It's the guy Harvey Dent tortured.
So hey, that guy, he made it.
He can't possibly be an A-lister if I know him from a 16-year-old movie.
Yeah, no, he's definitely not an A-lister. So if I said that, I misquoted.
You did myself, say that, and I wanted to beat him to death.
He's in a lot of shit, and he's a character actor that's very recognizable.
I agree.
You're mentioning The Dark Knight, but you see him and you go, "Where the fuck have I seen that guy?" And it turns out you've seen him in 100 things. You know
yes, I agree with you, but still, you said the words A-lister and David Dastmalchian in the same sentence.
All right.
All
right. I was told there would be no fact checking on this podcast. All right.
Oh, that's topical from a debate a month and a half ago.
How about this one? How about now? You're younger than I am. I was born in 1975, by the way.
Yeah.
Not 1875. When were you born again? 1980, right? 1995.
No.
1973.
No.
89,
Nick
right?
Fucking told you this last week. He's
89.
Correct.
Yeah, 1989. So yes. I'm roughly 14 years older than you.
You could be my teenage father.
I could be, and I might be. We're going to have that talk with you at Thanksgiving. But I wonder if this is going to hit with you, the age gap. I'm just curious to see your reaction. It's either going to be, what the hell is this guy talking about? Or like, oh, really? Let's see. There's going to be a live-action Oregon Trail movie.
Oh, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
You played that in school? Did you do that as well?
How many people are going to die of dysentery?
Exactly. So you know what I'm talking about.
What kid's going to fall overboard and drown in the river after they fjord it? What the fuck?
A movie adaptation of the popular grade school computer game Oregon Trail is in development at Apple, of all places.
Yeah, that sounds like an Apple movie.
There's a lot of pretty big names behind the screenplay and the production of it behind the scenes. Some of the music, the composers for Barbie are going to be involved in the music for Oregon Trail. Sure. It's going to be live action. I don't know if it's going to be a musical. I don't know if it's going to be kind of a.
There's no.
You know how Barbie was kind of almost like a fourth wall breaking type of deal, though. I wonder if it'll kind of be like that, where they're like in the game, but they think they're in real life, or I don't know.
I don't want a Jumanji Oregon Trail movie. I don't want that. I would legitimately just rather it be like a straight drama. Like, we play this straight
hard Western.
Drama. Like, and like a kid fucking dies of illness. Like, dad fucking dies fjording the river. The natives, when the Native Americans come, they murder somebody. Shit. Like, that's what I just want. Hard drama, Oregon Trail.
Whole village gets burned to the ground. Children in ashes. That kind of thing.
Like hard drama.
Sounds like a good time.
Maybe we get maybe the first family fucking dies, and then we follow the journey of another family who follow along their same path or something.
I gotta write down my score here, Dan.
I see.
I realize it's a score I have not given before, so I gotta write it anew.
Interesting. What is one?
All right. That was Spill the Peas this week. Just a quick segment there. Danny Boy, thanks for discussing those topics with me. And as we start out every episode, we're going to be talking about 2018's LUZ tonight, directed by Tilman Singer. That is LUZ, by the way. I didn't know how to pronounce it. I still don't.
I know.
I think that's
specifically
right,
told you 9 times how to pronounce it, and you just went, it's LUZ, isn't it? It's LUZ. I think it's LUZ. I don't know. No one told me how to pronounce it. Is it LUZ? I don't know.
Well, they said it in the movie, which helped.
I'm sitting there in the chat as you're saying it, being like, it's LUZ.
Yeah.
LOOZ. Pronounce it that way, please. And you're just like,
right. Yeah, I couldn't get it. Yeah.
Couldn't get it.
All right, well, let's do it, man. So we like to start out every review by giving our scores out of 10. Dan and I have not discussed it with each other. It's what we call the early score reveal.
Damn it, this always happens. I think I'm going to score, and then I never score. It's not fair.
3, 2, 1.
Ooh! Okay.
Bam.
Interesting.
Holy fucking shit. All right, so hold that back up real quick. So Dan's got a 5 out of 10 on it, and I got a 3 out of 10 on LUZ, which gives us a 4 overall this week from the Peas on our featured review. Holy shit.
I like
this
the movie more than you. Huh, interesting.
Yeah, well, you get to go first on the Mount Rushmore, too, now. That's what that means. True. We're doing the Mount Rushmore of directorial debuts, by the way, at the end of the episode, guys. Make sure you stick around for that little segment to end the episode. So 2018... LUZ, do you want to just go ahead and tell people now spoilers, or do you want to do a little spoiler?
No, I think we talked about it a little bit before, because like this movie does take a long time to get into, like into what's like actually fucking going on. It takes about like 25 minutes, and
arguably it never gets into it,
and then arguably never gets into it. But like the actual like interesting stuff starts happening about 25 minutes in.
All right, so let's do. Give me your general thoughts, man. I mean, a 5. I mean, I don't know. I mean, is a 5 a bad score from you, or is that just kind of like?
Yeah, it's just under. It's fine, you know. Okay. Like 6 is it's fine, you know. But yeah, 5 is just like, you know, I can take it or leave it.
So where did it hit for you?
I think it's a really well produced movie. Like the actual production aspects of it are impeccable. Like it's really interesting the way that the movie portrays it. It's like pseudo flashback without actually having to like go through all the effects and all the locations of like going from the airport, driving along the highway. They're not, you know, there's no like green screen background. It's just all centralized in this one room, and just the way they kind of still take you through it. It's really interesting. Mm-hmm. Aside from that, boy, what the fuck was this? The story makes... I had a tough time following the story. It's 65 minutes. It like the first 20 or so don't actually feel like they have anything to do with the actual movie itself. So it's really just a 40-minute movie. And it's just like, at some point, you need to tell me what the fuck's going on here. And I don't know what the fuck's going on here. Like... Somebody in the fucking Discord was like, there's a love story. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's no love story here. Are you insane? What are you talking about?
Well, first of all, that was Brad. He is insane, so we don't give him any credit. We don't let him out of the hospital too often. Look, man, I just didn't get it. I mean, what helped this for me a little bit to where this movie is the epitome example of a movie that I admire. Like, I admire all the craft and technical stuff that went into making the film. I do think the direction is astounding, especially for a first-time director. And when I was reading up on this after the fact, like I said, I'd never heard of it, even though I was a fan of Cuckoo this year, which is the same filmmaker. I found out, in fact, I'm looking right now on his Wikipedia page. So this film, LUZ, was Tilman Singer's film school thesis project. And he later, after, you know, he did it for his thesis, he sent it out to all the different film festivals, and it ended up finally getting picked up by Fantasia, which is a horror film festival.
Shocker.
And the Berlin Film Festival also picked it up, being that it's German in nature. So that kind of helped me a little bit, because one of my big gripes with the film is that it did feel like a student film. And it is, you know. So I mean, that kind of was. I was kind of like, okay, well then, you know, I'll give you a pass on that then. I did like the kind of grainy, like old school, late 70s, early 80s, like, think about that. I don't know if you ever saw that movie Possession, that like I think it was like 1983 or something like that, where it's like it was shot like it was in that era. It was, and I know you're gonna love this remark, but it was very similar to like when Ty West did House of the Devil, where it felt like it was early 80s, even though it was filmed in like 2012 or whatever it was.
Right.
So I do love all of that, like the aesthetics of the movie. Like I really thought it looked cool and it had a cool vibe to it. And when we get into spoilers, there was also some scenes that I did really enjoy and like, different plot beats that I thought were cool. But at the end of the day, like I just didn't get it. Like I didn't vibe with it. Like it felt too like, and I hate using the word pretentious knowing that this is a student film, but it felt that way at times. It was like kind of like these panderous shots with like, like you mentioned the opening. Like she comes into the hotel lobby or whatever, or
That's the police station.
Or police station. She goes into the police station lobby and like stands there for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's just a long.
I mean, right? I mean,
yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, it's
and
like
then,
stands there,
and then
like,
so it's like a 4-minute one take, and then we go to like another like long take shot in like a bar somewhere. What bar that is, I don't know what it is. Like I'm going to assume it was the hotel bar that the woman was supposed to be staying at, but yeah, we just get like this long 15-minute scene in the hotel bar, and it just feels like, what are we doing here? I don't understand.
Yeah, and then when it gets into the plot, which really we do need to get into spoilers before we get too deep into it, but when it gets into like the plot starting to kind of develop and, for lack of a better way to put it, things kind of start happening, which wasn't the case for the first like 20 minutes or so. It was just very convoluted and frankly confusing. And I'm just giving you, just from my perspective, I know this has a high rating on Rotten Tomatoes and like, obviously our buddy Jason likes it and people have raved about it or whatever. It just didn't work for me. Like I thought, like I said, there was a lot of things about it that I admire, but I would never in like a million years rewatch this. I just was just baffled by everything that was kind of happening. And even though visually there were some different things that we'll get into here shortly that I did really think were cool, I didn't know why they were happening at the same time. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh, that's cool, but what the hell does that mean? Or why did he do that? Or like whatever, So it was a very confusing plot. And the last thing I'll say on the spoiler-free side is that this is the longest 70 minutes of my life. Like I was literally like, 100%. When is this shit going to fucking end? Like, and that's never a good sign for me. And usually I'll say that with like those 3-hour movies, and you guys make fun of me with that. But this was barely an hour. It's a little over an hour if you don't count the credits. And I'm just like, with the last 20 minutes or so, I'm just like, every 5 minutes I'm checking the timeline on my TV. Like, is this shit fucking? I mean, this has got to end at some point. Like, nothing's happening. It's the same shot of somebody standing there or close up or like, and you get those quick jolts throughout the movie, but that all adds up to maybe 10 minutes of the 70 or like action kind of things happening. So it just,
I don't know. I think like the middle 40 minutes, there's a middle 40 minutes there there's things actually happening. You brought up the film grain and like the film, like the market, like I fucking hated that. You can tell it's digital film grain, which like that's fine if you want digital film grain, but like the little I don't know what that is on like on film on actual film. Whenever there's like markings that pop up on because of the projector or whatever.
Well, he did film this on 16 millimeter. I'll just tell
you. Oh, so maybe those were
or he said that in an interview at least. So
maybe it's real 16... then. But like it was just so like it was just like so obnoxious. Like it felt like it was digital with how often they were popping up. It's like, brother, how bad of quality.
It was definitely a choice. Yeah, it was definitely a choice. And, I saw an interview with him at that film festival I was telling you about that he submitted it to. And he said, that his inspiration was the old 70s and 80s, like supernatural films. And they obviously had to use film back then. Mm-hmm. He was like, so I'm going to do with what they did because I want my movie to look like that. And I also heard that, being that they did it on 16 millimeter and being that it was a student film, they didn't have a ton of takes because they didn't have any money for extra film. So I think he said something like the whole movie was shot in like 5 takes like each scene, I mean, was like up to 5 takes, and that was it for each scene of the movie.
There's a couple scenes
So
that's wild.
I know. So it's like, that's why I said it's inspiring and it's like admirable. But
Yes.
I'm just saying from like an entertainment standpoint, I just didn't vibe with it, even though I do appreciate what was happening.
Yeah, that's why this score exists. This is the, hey, the movie you made here is really well made, but boy, do I fucking not like it.
Let's get into specifics on the other side of our promo break, Dan, and you're going to be the one rolling that for us, so I appreciate it. When we come back, we'll be into spoilers for LUZ from 2018. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. As Dan is here, filling in for Nick, executive producer Dan has crawled out of the shadows to get back on the microphone with me, and I appreciate that, buddy. We're talking about 2018's LUZ, a German supernatural possession film from director Tilman Singer, who gained notoriety this year for directing Cuckoo with Hunter Schafer that Neon Studios put out, and our patron Jason pitched this at us. So I'm going to go through this, Dan, and I want you to help me kind of drive our way through this, and then we can kind of comment on these different sections of the movie as we go through the conversation. And as we have said, we are into spoilers, just so everybody listening knows that. The movie starts with LUZ, our main character, who is a cab driver, right? She drives a taxi.
Yes.
She comes into this police station and just kind of stands there. But she starts reciting this dialogue that's very profane. It's like a spin on like a Catholic prayer, but it's a profane version of that, where she's talking about fucking the Son of Mary and in the grandpa's genitals or whatever. Do you remember what the exact? I can't remember what the.
I don't remember the exact thing, but it was very much spit in the face of God.
Yeah, it was very sacrilegious, so to speak. So we have that whole kind of like ominous, eerie kind of introduction to her in the movie, and then kind of simultaneously we cut to a scene in the bar that you were talking about, where Dr. Rossini, the male character, and this other woman are kind of flirting with each other, and they eventually have this really long conversation, which was driving me fucking crazy. Because I'm like, what is this? What's happening?
Like, get to it.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're having a talk. So to make a long story short, which the movie did not do, but ultimately what happens is we find out that Dr. Rossini is connected to the police station that LUZ is currently being held at, and he's being paged to go attend to her. And the lady that's kind of talking him up at the bar she's telling him a story about LUZ and about how they were friends in Catholic school many years before. And I mean, it was a story about kind of like possession, but like told in kind of like a sexy way, like where she was kind of like seducing him almost. Like dropping lines about them, like maybe having like lesbian relations or whatever. So he was kind of intrigued, and there was some seduction involved in the conversation.
Yeah.
And so then we finally get our first piece of kind of like action, and the plot kind of starts to take a turn because the young lady invites him to go into the bathroom there at the bar or whatever. And while they're in the bathroom, she ends up basically acting like she's going to kiss him. And in doing so, when their mouths come together, what happens is the devil or the demon that's inside of this female body transfers itself into Dr. Rossini. So we learn, or I assume we're supposed to learn, that the whole time the demon that was talking to him at the bar, and now it's in him.
Yes, correct.
And the point is that demon is trying to get back to LUZ, which LUZ conjured this demon in Catholic school. Now, first of all, did I explain that? Is that right? Is that what you got?
That's pretty much what I understood. Is that LUZ through some ridiculous way conjured a demon because she convinced this one student that she was pregnant for somehow, and then they did like some ritual, and then that apparently conjured a demon, and it killed the girl. And so the demon's kind of been like wandering around through like the world to find LUZ again for some reason. Why? No idea. It just wants to.
So apparently it has almost like a crush on LUZ.
Yeah, there's a love story, Annie. Or Brad, or whoever the fuck that is.
Or Brad, whoever the fuck that was.
Dumbass.
But wants to get back to LUZ. It's kind of like almost like obsessed and almost like stalking her human self, I guess.
Yes.
And so gets into Dr. Rossini. He makes his way back to the police station where LUZ is being held. They want to find out what happened to her with the cab, with the taxi, and why she's injured and why she showed up there to begin with, and spurting out all this weird religious, whatever, mockery or whatever. So it's Dr. Rossini, obviously LUZ is there, and then you have another detective, I guess, or officer that's female. Right?
No. So the woman is like the detective, and the man, I believe, is just like there to translate. Like he works with the police department to translate Spanish.
Yeah, he's a translator, right? And he's in this booth, and they have the earpieces in, and he's translating everything that LUZ is saying if it's in a different language. Yeah. Kind of like a police sketch artist, but not sketching. He's more translating. But yeah.
Correct.
So that's the group of folks there. And what Dr. Rossini, who, by the way, we know as the audience, even though nobody else there knows, is that he's possessed. The demon's inside of him.
Yes, you said that.
But Dr. Rossini decides to hypnotize LUZ and is going to use hypnosis to essentially get the truth out of her or to find out what happened. So he hypnotizes her, and upon hypnotizing her, they set up this elaborate set basically to improvise that she's actually driving the cab to reenact what happened. And they put up a little rear view mirror up there, and they set up these seats to make it look like a cab, and she's in the driver's seat, and they're asking her questions to get her to relive the accident and to what led her there.
Correct.
Now, in this scene with the hypnosis, there was a lot of things I did love about this scene. I wanted to ask your opinion too, and anything that we've talked about to this point. But what really stood out to me during these scenes were the sound design and the use of real life stuff that she was talking about, that she was remembering.
Yep.
But it was mixed with this very cold, blank slate inside the police station. And, you would hear the sounds of the cars and stuff, and people, construction workers on the street. You know what I mean? You would hear all that stuff, but it was her in this cubicle basically. So I did love the mixture of that and the sound design and the score. I thought was great too. It was like a 80s synth score in this film.
Yeah.
What did you think of this whole really existential kind of back and forth? Did you get what was happening? Because I had to reflect on to even be able to say what I'm saying to you now. I had to reflect on it after.
No, I understood the events. It was just why does the demon give a fuck? Why does the demon want to get back to? Why does this demon want to get to this woman? I don't understand that. But yeah, no, the whole cab thing was interesting. Just her going through her steps to the airport, driving her ex-friend around by the name of Nora, driving Nora around, and then having that discussion regarding Marguerite, the girl that apparently died thanks to the demon possession or whatever happened. But yeah, you bringing up the fact that you brought up the fact that it was a student film. Bring up that, boy, that makes a lot of sense now. Why you would just use a very sterile room and just be all right, let's just fill it with a fog machine and then lights, and we can do lights and a fog machine, and that's going to fix all of the issues we're going to have regarding not being able to use any locations. We're just going to relive all this shit via essentially a stage play of the events.
And yeah, definitely a chamber piece. It's funny too, Dan, because I feel bad critiquing it and giving it a 3, but it's I'm reviewing it as a film. But what's so funny about that is if I was in college and one of my classmates played this as a student film, I'd be like, this is the greatest thing I've ever fucking seen in my life.
You'd be like, wow, You made this as a student film? Goddamn.
You're a Scorsese. Like, what the fuck, man? You know, like getting
Yeah.
autographs and shit after class. I mean, but I looked at it more, and I didn't know any of that till after. But I looked at it more
which
as
is the
just
same thing with me, and that's why I'm critiquing it. I'm critiquing it as though somebody actually. This wasn't a student film. This was, somebody paid money out of their pocket and were like, I really want to make art. And so
Right.
you're going to get critiqued as you really wanted to make art. And sometimes you make art and people don't like it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that I'm not even saying it's bad. I just didn't dig it. And I love the Dario Argento stuff, which I saw a lot of those influences here. I mentioned Possession from like '83. Like, I see a lot of those influences. I like a lot of that stuff, but like what really drills home my point with this movie is that this was, if you want to take the credits out, this was like a 65-minute movie that felt like 3 hours. I mean, I was in agony the last like half hour of this movie because I was just like,
no, I was really engaged in the last half hour of the movie. Like
I was done, bro.
It had reached its like. I don't want to say I bought into the first 25 minutes, but I was just like, where are we going with this? And then when we got to the police station, I was kind of really enraptured by like the whole production angle of it. The whole production like really kept me going, and then like when everything starts turning, that's where I'm like, all right, where the fuck is this going? This is getting really interesting. And then it kind of like fell off a bit because it's like, oh, we're just we're not like getting into motivations. We're just like getting into matter of factness of like, this is what happened, and now we want to get to this specific end goal. But why do we want to get to the end goal? Like, there's just there's no discussion of motivation whatsoever. And you can do that. You can do that where you don't elaborate on somebody's motivations for anything they're doing, but like you have to like earn people's time to do that. This movie didn't earn its time to do that. So like it had to expand on what the fuck is the demon's purpose? Why does it want to do what it's doing? Why is it getting from host to host to host to host to get to LUZ? Why? Why does it care?
Right. It does. I hate that it never kind of ties in that larger narrative. It's just more for like style, which the style of the movie is really cool, but the substance is missing in a lot of ways. And you read the plot synopsis on a Letterboxd or Wikipedia or whatever, and it's like it sounds really cool, but then when you sit down to watch it, it's like everything that was in the synopsis is like sparse throughout this. I don't know, just weird art tour. Like, I don't know. I mean, it was like an art project versus like a narrative film that I was invested in, because I definitely was not invested in it. I thought there was some cool shit in it, and I've already mentioned a couple things, but I thought Dr. Rossini, the main dude, like I thought his performance was fucking off the rails.
Yeah,
there's one scene.
This part for the audio audience, I'm sticking a pen up my nose. I don't want to tell you why, but that scene was gnarly. That 5 minutes where like from the moment like he grabs the cop by the face to like when he like rips out of his clothes and changes into a dress and like shoves the pen up his nose, I was like, where the fuck is this going? And then of course like it like starts declining a bit there because it just wants to revisit the past and like what happened, just like a little like very briefly revisit what happened that day when LUZ apparently conjured the demon. But there's not like it wants to revisit nothing in between. It's just here's creation of Demon Day. Here, let's recreate the accident and now move on. And now we're just going to end the movie. No idea what the ending means. Blah 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 blah.
So the demon kind of was doing this thing where it was mimicking things that she saw or that she remembered. So, he would appear to her as like Marguerite or whatever, but to us, we know it's still him.
Yeah.
And, it would show like his chest hair, for example. So we know it's the male, and she's just seeing it a different way or whatever. And ultimately, I think towards the end of the film, I want to say it was Marguerite that she thought it was, and goes in to kiss her
Mm-hmm.
in that kind of smoke-filled room that they're in or whatever, which looked really cool.
Yep.
She goes in to kiss her, and they have like a passionate kiss for like a couple minutes, and then
that's how you took that? That's not a passionate kiss, man. That's the
well,
possession.
the implication is that he passed through to
Correct.
lose now, right?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
okay. Because I was questioning that, to be honest with you, but that's kind of what I thought that was happening. And then we get to the very, very end of the film, and LUZ. So the detective comes out, Bernadette or whatever the hell her name was, comes out and is like basically saying like, you're free to go. And we know that the demon is now inside of that person that she's talking to. And you can hear LUZ's inner dialogue saying, shoot me, don't let me go, like don't let him out of here.
Oh, that's interesting.
But
I wasn't taking that as LUZ. I was actually the person I was taking that as, and maybe it's because I couldn't hear it that well. It's taken as the guy in the booth.
Oh, was he saying it?
Maybe it was one. Like I understand your interpretation of it, and maybe that's a little bit better. But I was taking it as him because remember that he saw all the fucked up, crazy shit.
But why wouldn't the detective have been able to hear him though?
Well, didn't he get flung back into the wall and get like knocked out or something? And like, so
Right.
he's like kind of knocked out, like on the ground, and he's just saying it into the microphone. But the detective's already taken out her earpiece because the interview's over. So like, why does she need to hear it?
Okay, she couldn't hear it in the headphones.
But like, I don't know for sure because it's like if you watched what the subtitles, it said over phone. Like as that started, I'm like, that's a really why over phone? Like what are we doing here? And then so that's what I'm assuming is that like
okay, all right,
we're using that.
Yeah, see, my interpretation was that LUZ was like trapped in her own body. It was like,
which is also fair and horrifying.
Was kind of like kind of saying that like to herself really, but nobody could hear it, you know,
right?
Except for us because of filmmaking. But I mean, it could have been the dude. Now that you mentioned that, I didn't even think about that honestly. But and then it ends. Look, we can wrap up on this thing, give final thoughts on it before we do our Mount Rushmore. I admired it. I mean, I already told. I mean, there's anything from a technical perspective where you're talking about the synth score, the dude that played Rossini's super committed, bonkers fucking performance that he probably got paid $10 to do. I mean, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, his name is Jan Bluthart. He went for it. I hope he's doing other shit right now because he's really good in this movie.
Yeah, he was great.
Oh, he was in
I liked. Yeah. I mean, there's some good things about it. There's some things I enjoyed. I just, at the end of the day, it just didn't work for me. Like I wasn't intrigued enough to really be invested. I think it's a cool concept on paper, and I think if it was like, remade today, even if Tilman Singer remade it, if it was remade today and you took out a lot of the like obvious student film cliches, art for art's sake kind of things that happen in this movie, and made it just a narrative feature about this girl LUZ, and we find out, to your point, like what happened to begin with and why she summoned the demon, and like you make a movie out of it, you know what I mean? And maybe then it would be something. But for me, this was just like a really cool student film. I mean, that didn't work for me as a movie. So I didn't love it, Jason, but I love you. I hope Jason hasn't unsubscribed by now. But Dan, give your final thoughts real quick, man.
So first off, don't rewrite shit. Don't rewrite the movie for like just let it be what it is. Like I'm guilty of rewriting. I'm guilty of rewriting shit. Like I am. Look at you in your prime. Like don't rewrite shit. Like the guy made what he made. And he's proud of it, and I would be proud of it too. Like if this was my first movie, like this was my student film, I'd be really proud of this. But like don't rewrite this movie just because like, hey, I don't get it, But yeah, I don't get it either, and that's fine. It's not it's not built to be a movie that I think a more average film goer is going to enjoy,
right?
Because it is clearly made. Like you can tell, like there's a lot of techniques in here that are just like, man, this is like a movie lover movie. where you're more appreciating the craft than anything. I do hope that he got a writer, and he isn't writing any more of his own movies, or at least if he is writing his own movies, he's improved and is getting, taking notes from people. But
well, to your point there, real quick, I don't mean to interrupt you, but in that interview that I watched him on YouTube earlier, he said that that's his weakest attribute is screenwriting, and he said that he actually doesn't like really hefty dialogue-driven scripts. He likes scripts that are visual and that the audience kind of sees and makes up their own mind, as opposed to somebody telling them what's happening. And you can definitely see that in this movie because there's so many ponderous shots and he's kind of waiting for somebody to say something, which turns out he just didn't write it. There's nothing for him to say. So it's interesting that you made that point.
Yeah, there's just so many ponderous shots in this, like at the bar, at the police station lobby, in the room itself, like when they're setting up the chairs. That's ponderous. Like there's just it's too ponderous, man.
And I mean, it has that. The chair scene, for example, is like 2 minutes of that dude that's doing the translating, bringing chairs out and setting them up.
Yeah,
it's like the whole thing's filmed. Like we don't need to see that for 2 minutes.
Yeah,
like you could show me like 10 seconds of him putting the chairs out, and I'll be like, oh, okay, he's setting the chairs up.
Or like if it was doing that thing, like it wouldn't be 2 minutes, and I don't want to rewrite the movie, but like if it was like going wide and then like hard focusing onto the doctor at a certain point, I've been like, yeah, that's a good shot. Otherwise, it's just like holding this one wide angle for like 2 minutes, and it's like, huh, what, why?
Yeah, great. He set up the chairs.
What are we doing here? Like, okay, but I think for a first time student film, good job.
But see, I'm grading it as if I did not know that it was a student film, which I found out
I am
after.
As well.
And when I watched it, I hated what was happening.
I'm not revising this number. This number sticks. Yeah. But for a student film, good job. As an actual movie, fix your writing.
Let's work on it. Yeah, let's work on it. Yeah. All right, Jason, I love you. I want a special shout out to Jason. Maybe the only person that will actually listen to this episode anyway. So I'm sorry, man. I admired it. I just didn't vibe with it. I didn't get it. Okay. We're going to do our Mount Rushmore of directorial debuts. Dan, this was the directorial debut for Tilman Singer. Jason also suggested this Mount Rushmore topic. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back and forth, and we're going to throw a movie on the Mount Rushmore for what we think would make up the best directorial debuts. Dan, you have first pick because you graded this movie higher. That's a rule that Nick incorporated, so you can ask him if you have a problem with that. But criteria-wise, did this stump you up a little bit? Like, in other words, are you picking it because you love the movie, or are you picking it because the movie kicked off a directing career?
Yes, the second one. I think this is arguably the most important directorial debut of all time.
Oh wow! But holy fuck!
I'm not joking. Like, very rarely do I get into hyperbole like this, but the directorial debut that is 1-1 on the Mount Rushmore, the Abe Lincoln spot, I think. I don't know.
George Washington. I found that out last week.
Citizen Kane from Orson Welles.
God damn it! It's like Nick's here. He took the week off. You don't have to do that.
No, but like I'm right. I'm right.
I mean, that's fine.
I'm 100% right. I've literally never seen the movie in my entire life, but I just know.
Is that the one you're talking about from the 40s earlier that you mentioned?
Yes. Okay, all right. It is bar none the most important directorial debut of all time, because like it's just like it made the Orson Welles on film career. Of course, like you have the whole War of the Worlds thing, which like started the Orson Welles at all. But like, yeah, Citizen Kane is 1-1. Like it is I think the most important directorial debut of all time.
All right, let's throw it up on George's face there. Then I'm not going to argue.
Sure.
Citizen Kane. I mean, especially with Nick being my co-host, he'll quit the show if I don't let you put it up there. So now, look, I'm not going to argue the most important directorial debut of all time, but I will say of the modern era, possibly, and when I say modern era, I mean like the last 30 to 35 years, maybe, perhaps, would be Reservoir Dogs from Quentin Tarantino.
That's interesting. I have a different one from roughly the same time. But go ahead.
Because, for me, I mean, QT is the millennial director. I mean, the guy is like gonna go down as one of the all-time greats. I mean, if he never made another movie ever again, he would go down as one of the all-time greats from everything that he's done. And it all started with Reservoir Dogs, so it's not my favorite Tarantino by any standard. No. But it is his debut feature film, and it fits on the Rushmore. I'm gonna throw Reservoir Dogs on Lincoln's face. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
So Citizen Kane.
It's definitely one of the most. It's like probably the most important modern, like last 30. It's probably the most important directorial debut for like what career it launched. From at least from a modern aspect. So yeah, it's like up there with Orson Welles, I think.
Well, there you go. All right. So what do you got for Teddy's face or whatever?
All right, so there's two, and I'm kind of hoping you pick the second one. But there's another movie that came out around the same time as Reservoir Dogs, and it is widely regarded as like the best, like one of the best movies of all time. And it's The Shawshank Redemption from Frank Darabont. Like I think it's still number 1 on IMDb right now. You're making a face.
Well, I asked you about the criteria. So what the fuck has Frank Darabont done since? I didn't know if it was the movie or if it was the directorial career of the person.
It can be both. And to me, the number one movie, the number 1 rated movie of all time, like, come on, like what more impact do you really?
So what I was going to say. So what you're saying is that he came out of the gate and made one of the best movies of all time in his very first movie.
Correct.
Yeah. Regardless of what he did past that, which is not much.
You can say that of Reservoir Dogs. You can say that of Citizen Kane,
But now you messed me up because I was hoping you'd say, I've got like 3 now and I've only got 1 spot.
I know.
All right. Well, what am I going to do here? So remind me what we have. So we have Quentin Tarantino. We have Reservoir Dogs, Citizen Kane.
And Shawshank Redemption.
And Shawshank. So we've got 2 right in the 90s already, right?
Yeah. There's one here that like I was kind of hoping you would like rate the movie higher than I did.
Let me tell you what I'm thinking about. Let me tell you what I'm thinking about picking, and then we can talk through it. Because there's a couple, like I said, that I would also be okay with, but I might need to be convinced that anything would be able to jump 1968's Night of the Living Dead.
All right, that's on the short list. I think there's a more important one from the same genre.
From a few years later. The zombie subgenre, bro.
Yes, I agree with you.
Anything that we have that has a goddamn zombie in it. I mean, so that's my number 1 pick as we're sitting here right now. Sure. I'm also probably easily swayed to pick like Clerks from Kevin Smith.
I wanted to avoid Clerks because it was that was last week. On the Rushmore.
What are you thinking?
There's another one that's like same genre you were thinking from like a couple years after that. And I can't believe that I'm going to have to remind you of.
Are you talking about The Exorcist?
No.
Remind me.
The Evil Dead. Sam Raimi.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You said a couple years. That was like
1973?
20 years. The first Evil Dead was 1980, right? 1980 was the first Evil Dead.
Was it really? Oh, I thought it was like the 70s.
So when you said a couple years, it threw me off a little bit.
Oh, 81. Yeah, holy shit. All right. Yeah, then I was misleading you accidentally.
Yeah, but okay. Let's do this then. Let's do this. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Which one? Night of the Living Dead. We'll take Clerks off the table. Okay, it was on last.
Yeah, I think Clerks you can remove from the table entirely.
Night of the Living Dead from 1968. The Evil Dead from Sam Raimi from 1981. Which one of those 2 films was more impactful to film?
Film overall, or like
or I mean, whatever.
Because like Sam Raimi went on to like do
they're both horror
this shit like, and as much as like George Romero is like a local legend from my hometown, like
that's true.
What did like no offense to Romero, but like he did this And then like there's another one of the Dead movie series
Return
that's
of the
like
Living Dead.
really well regarded, but then after that it's just kind of like so like, but like he did kick off an entire genre. Like he is the godfather of zombie movies. So
Yeah, I guess
like,
that's when it comes down to like, the
do we look at like
directorial
overall impact or like
achievements.
director's career? It's one of those nebulous areas where it's like, because I
Well,
think
look
both
at what
movies
we
are of like similar-ish quality.
for sure. But you could also say that the Evil Dead might not even exist without Night of the Living Dead.
That's true.
I mean, I don't know, man. We're talking about the Mount Rushmore here, so I gotta say Night of the Living Dead, man. I mean,
Fair.
George A. Romero. I think Sam Raimi would put Night of the Living Dead on his Mount Rushmore. I'll put it that way.
Probably.
But I will say that I agree with you if you're kind of looking at it like their directorial achievements and what they've done as a director. Sam Raimi probably has a much stronger resume and is still going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
he made two
what-
really great Spider-Man movies.
That's true. But I mean, what Romero did with just the history of filmmaking. I mean, if I don't know, man. I think I gotta go Night of the Living Dead.
Go with your heart. Follow your heart.
Play Misty for me from Clint Eastwood was another one I was considering from 1971. That was his directorial effort, and I mean that dude is still going at 91 years old. What else was I thinking of here? Did you have any other ones that you were considering?
I had Caddyshack on my short list. Harold Ramis.
I had Myrick and Sanchez for the Blair Witch Project, but see that would be just the just the catapulting of the found footage genre. But again, that wouldn't fall into the category of them doing anything else, though.
Yeah, but like the found footage genre, like very nearly, like almost immediately afterwards, like killed itself by being just so bad. Like, what other good found footage movies would you consider there to be?
Sorry, I wasn't listening to you.
I know.
There's a few I like though. I guess it's too problematic to say American Beauty though. Sam Mendes.
I thought about it too.
That kind of sucks though, right? That we can't say that.
It was just one of those things where it's like, do I really think this is like that impact? Like Sam Mendes has had a good career. Don't get me wrong. Like 1917 masterpiece. His Bond movie, I think it was Spectre. I don't know. I didn't watch it, but like Sam Mendes has done plenty. But I just think like the two that I picked are like way more important than American Beauty in like the grand scope of things.
That's true. I was also
like your two are also way more important in the grand scope of things. Like, maybe 20 years down the road, we'll say, okay, yeah, American Beauty, yeah, maybe that should be on the Mount Rushmore. But like at this time, I don't think so.
Yeah, I was also thinking about Eraserhead from David Lynch, but yeah, can't do them all. I guess
he can't get a movie made right now.
So we'll leave it as is. I don't know about the Shawshank Redemption though. You got me. I gave you that when you were a guest on the show. You edited the show. I gave you.
I think you're blatantly wrong. I think that's insane.
When we had that conversation a minute ago, you should have said, "You know what, Gerald? You're right. Let's put Night of the Living Dead on there and Evil Dead. I'll take Shawshank Redemption off." That's what you should have done.
Absolutely. Right that's an insane.
It's an election year. You could have done the right thing for the people, Dan.
No, you can't do that.
All right, so let's our Mount Rushmore. What was it again? Where am I? It was what the hell was it?
I chose Citizen Kane. You chose Reservoir Dogs.
Citizen Kane.
Reservoir Dogs. The Shawshank Redemption, and you chose Night of the Living Dead.
Bam, there you go. Those are 4 movies that make up the directorial debut Mount Rushmore in our discussion on LUZ from 2018. LUZ didn't make the Mount Rushmore now.
Shocking. I can't believe it.
It was not in the conversation there. Dan, thanks for being here. Do you want to tell people anything? Give me your home address or anything like that, or are you good?
Yeah, you can find me at Gerald's home address at hold on, let me pull that up. No, so I do a trading card game podcast called Stacking Triggers. It is me and my friend Bill. We do YouTube stuff. Thinking about branching out into other stuff other than just doing a video podcast, basically. But Yeah, if you're somebody who likes listening to people talk about Magic the Gathering and sometimes the One Piece trading card game, check us out at Stacking Triggers on YouTube. There's no socials. You can just follow me on socials if you want to. I barely tweet, and if I do, it's generally a retweet of something that's completely obscure that only I find funny.
That's fair. Next week, Nick is, I think, going to be back on the show. We'll find out, but I think he's going to work his way back in here, and we're going to talk about the new Edward Berger religious political thriller called Conclave, which is getting a lot of Oscar buzz, and it's releasing this week. So we'll be covering that next week as we get award season is here, Dan. Award season is upon us. Officially November 1st is award season, man. I'm so excited about this.
I don't want to hear you talk about awards at all. I don't care.
I can't wait to talk about nothing else. And just for you. I'm going to send it to your inbox.
I hate award season. Hey guys, let's jerk each other off. This is great, isn't it?
Please. Dan, thanks for being here, man. And thanks for all your work on the show every week. I appreciate it. And thanks for filling in for Nick this week. Guys, we will be back next week when we talk about Conclave. Until then, thanks for tuning in. Dan, put some lotion on that thing up there, buddy.
It's fine. It's not that dry.